again, I'm bringing back an idea from the non-spoiler portion because I love hearing about how things evolve because many think you go in with a script and it's perfectly refined and cannot change. So can you give me an example of a seed you planted in season 1 that might have seemed meaningless, but now it pays off in season 2 and you could go like, aha, like that was there all along. But then I want the opposite as well, something you never planned for that we see in season 2, but it needed some finessing because you hadn't prepared for it in season 1.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question.
I can't believe that came out of my mouth properly in a way that made sense.
Very well stated. I mean, we could talk about the journal a little bit, maybe. Jackie's, or
I would love to hear about the journal. I still have a burning question from season 1 about the journal.
I mean, it's just like...
I was going to bring up, and this is maybe, you know what, I will not give the context yet because it is spoilery, but there is a moment at the keg party in the pilot where Natalie is tripping and she sees Misty. And that is something that we planted very early on that will pay off later.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
Actually, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good pull.
I endorse that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's a great question. But I was just like, I mean, like I know there are things, but it's just like walking into the bookstore and being like,
things that are changing.
Well,
that's what I'm kind of curious about.
Wait, it was things that that we knew would pay off, and then things that we didn't know would pay off.
Something in season 2 that you hadn't planned for in season 1, and it took some finessing to fit in right in season 2.
Yeah. Because that does truthfully happen all the time. Even throughout the season, even throughout a single script, I think a big part of our process is sort of being kind of open to the level on which like these things are happening, like kind of subconsciously, and it's just like you are kind of making decisions because you're like following what seems exciting, and then kind of all of a sudden you're just like, oh, this all came together in this way that like I don't know that I could have planned it or we could have planned it, and so I know that happens all the time.
I know it happens all the time. That's harder to remember.
But I'm blanking, It's
easier to remember the things that we planted because we did it purposefully.
Yeah.
There's a throwaway line in which episode was it? It was in season 1 and it was I think episode 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there. But there's a throwaway line where Travis is playing solitaire or trying to play solitaire, and Natalie tells him that there are no queens in that deck. And that was a plant very much for this season.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
a good one.
I like that one. I like that one. How about if I kind of switch that question to being on set and your actors? Because it does sound like you're able to recognize when they do something special and you're willing to go with a change that they might make happen. So what scene changed the most from script to screen because of what happened on set during filming?
That's another good question.
Well, I don't know if this is a change, but I can tell you this. We did script this idea that adult Natalie would get to such an abject place that she would try and do coke and then try and do it off the carpet, and get like just the little, corpuscles of coke that were left out of the fibers of the carpet. But I think what surprised all of us is the way in which Juliette really went for that. I mean, when we saw the footage, it was operatic and pretty terrific. I mean, we could have showed like a 3-minute version of her slithering down the bed and like getting really into it. And we obviously chose like what we felt were the choicest bits, but we didn't know it was going to be that kind of iconic, I think, when we wrote it.
It was scripted pretty simply.
Yeah, it was this big.
Yeah, it was in the script. Natalie trashes her hotel room looking for the remainder of the coke, and then she went for it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't think this is necessarily like the most exciting answer, but like I think a lot of the change that happens as a result of the way that the cast starts to kind of inhabit the characters is like not something you can exactly like articulate or plan for. It's just that there was a shift where when we were pitching this idea or kind of writing the pilot, like you hear the characters' voices in kind of your head. And then after they get cast and the cast is playing them, you then start to hear their voice. And like that, and to see them as well, and like that has a tremendous kind of impact because it's just like the acoustics of kind of ideas are changed, so everything sounds and feels very differently.
Who changed the most then after the character was cast?
Who changed the most? I feel like maybe Melanie, because I feel like in my head, and it's even hard to remember specifically the sound of Shauna because kind of obviously like, she was like drawing from, the lines that are written there, but so like it's not quite a cadence thing, but like the amount of there's a thing that like Melanie is so great at with kind of rhythm that I heard somebody kind of describe it as like the bouncing ball for like a kind of a song I'm on like a TV where it's like it's hitting the words. It's like she's like just sort of like bouncing through them where each one is doing like a slightly different thing in this way that's just like kind of amazing to watch. Yeah. And so I think that like hearing that's like the a resonance level of this line is going to be exponentially wider as a result of her handling
It's also faith. You have to cast the right people for this reason. Like I think we all want to explore the subtlety of relationships and the nuances of human behavior, right? But if you have actors who can't do subtext, then you've got a big problem. So you start writing toward their strengths, and luckily we have like a very strong cast across the board. And so you can start having a scene be not just about one thing. It can be about three things. And often the thing it's really about is in the silences. Mm-hmm. And and you can trust that will work.
Yeah.
I will show you proof. Most of my questions for the cast is about reaction shots because brimming with subtext.
100%.
They all do it. They're all so present, which is so great because sometimes actors, will wait for their moment on screen. But, for instance, Samantha Henratty, the number of times that we would be in post and watching footage and watching scenes and notice what she was doing in the background, which would not be scripted. It's just like Misty's there. And she is so in character all the damn time that we would find that we would have these great cutaways that just because Misty was being Misty in the background.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes Samantha will come up behind the monitors and like, oh, you're not really Samantha right now. You're Misty still. So I need to talk to you like Misty.
Yes. I'm going to end with a question about episode 6 because the birth sequence is just really something else. Was the plan always to have the baby die, or did you ever consider how things might play out if that had gone a different way?
The plan was always to have the baby die.
Yeah.
But I mean, like
we certainly considered it.
But not for very. I mean, like I think we consider kind of everything. That was always the plan for sure.
Yeah. We kicked the tires on it. We made sure that felt like it was the right decision. But we really. I do think that we also infused that. It would have been tricky had we gone a different way because we really infused that death and that loss into Shauna's relationship with Callie, and her disconnect and her sort of estrangement from her daughter in our minds has always been a result of that loss. And so I think we would have had to really reframe that relationship in a way that might not have worked for us.
Right.
What about exploring that situation via the vision that Shauna has? Why was it important for you to let young Shauna get a taste of what it would have been like before ripping it away from her?
Well, because I mean, a huge thing that we often try to do or really kind of want to do is to give the audience as much as possible like a visceral taste of the subjective experience of kind of the character. And so to just say, well, she lost a baby and that hurts her, right? But how do you express that and give people a handle on how to feel it? Well, you show what she lost and you give a taste of that, of all that could have been. And so that's why we did it.
What a crushing way to do it. It's too effective. I could keep you guys here all day. I'm not allowed. Congratulations.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much.